We'll see. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with J-Dash, JK47, and Big Easy. We're going to talk some Bucko baseball, mostly about the trade deadline. What do you got for us, Dash?
Well, this is part one of a two-part segment. In this first part, we're going to go over the Pittsburgh Pirates roster and their team needs.
As we discussed in the last segment, they need to get rid of Serpico, correct?
No. Serpico is definitely staying on this team. He is an important part to this team, for sure.
So he can look like Al Pacino. That's how they get into bars.
You don't like Serpico either? Easy?
I don't want to get in it.
No, go ahead. We're going to talk Pirates. You don't want to get into it. What the hell are you doing up here?
I'll trade Serpico for Alex Rodriguez.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's a thought. We could always get A-Rod and have him be our first baseman.
But right now, the Pirates, they're sitting at 53 and 35, 2.5 games behind the St. Louis Cardinals. They're second in all of baseball with least runs allowed, so they have a great pitching staff. And they lead the NL Central in runs per game. They're only behind the Washington Nationals in the East, but they're only ahead of the San Diego Padres in the West. So there are 5 teams that have a better offense in terms of run per game than them in the NL right now. They currently have actually 24 players on their 25-man roster. They called up an extra relief pitcher after the first extra inning game against St. Louis this past series they played, just to have another arm for the next game, and they did go into extra innings, although they did not need the extra arm. But let's start with catcher. You got Francisco Cervelli, who's having a great season. He's hitting .294 with a .366 on-base percentage, 4 jacks, 30 RBIs, 27 runs, and 235 at-bats. He's thrown out the second most runners behind Derek Norris. And then you got Chris Stewart, who he's not going to kill it with the bat, but he comes up with big hits at certain times, and he's Cole's personal catcher. So he is definitely going to be on this team moving forward.
Personal catcher. The only people that should have personal catchers are knuckleballers.
Anybody think we should upgrade anything at catcher?
It's been a sweet surprise about catching this year. Cervelli, I don't know if he's going to last 182 games.
Well,
Stewart, I don't know if he's going to last the rest of the season.
182 games? I don't know. That's like a season and 20
or whatever.
games.
I don't know. Hey,
Well, yeah, you're going to play the playoffs. You're going to end up playing about 182.
Well, he's not. Chris Stewart played 30 games.
Cervelli gets hurt and Chris Stewart has to play daily, then we're in trouble. Because then we have no one to back them two up, I'll tell you that.
Well, no team has a third catcher. In fact, most teams don't even have a second catcher. But Chris Stewart, he's hitting .295 with a .333 on base. So his bat is getting it done. All right, let's move on to first base. You got Pedro Alvarez, a guy who is in a platoon situation. He only bats against right-handers, and he has questions on defense, obviously. We knew that. But I went through and looked at every error he committed this season and how much it actually cost the Pittsburgh Pirates, because there are so many fans, so many radio hosts coming out and saying his errors are costing them runs, a bunch of runs, and costing them games as well. So I went back and looked. Now,
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. He's only played 79 games there, made 76 starts, career at first base. But it was just through 604.1 innings. He doesn't play the full game, obviously, every time. Divide that 604.1 innings by 9, it comes to actually 67.12 games played. Full games. So he's played around 67 full games at first base. Now, he did commit too many errors this season. There's no question about that. He committed 14 errors over 12 different games this season. He had 2 games with 2 errors. Now, he had 5 ground ball errors, 7 errors trying to make a catch or catch and line drive, and then 2 throwing errors. Now, the 5 ground ball errors aren't really alarming. All first basemen commit ground ball errors, and really some have just as many ground ball errors as Pedro Alvarez does this season. 5 is not an outstanding number. And then you got the 2 throwing errors, and with Pedro Alvarez, you know throwing errors are going to happen. That's why we moved him off of third base in the first place to minimize those throwing errors, and actually it's worked out. Just 2 throwing errors this season, and really he hasn't had a throwing error since game 49. So it's been a long time since he even had a throwing error. The biggest problem is catching the ball on mostly pickoffs. What he's trying to do, he's trying to catch a pickoff and make the tag too quick, and he's done that several times this season, and that's really the difference between people complaining about Pedro not being able to handle first base and him being a decent first baseman. But you look at him, 2 of those were line drives hit right at him. And I said this earlier, I don't expect that to happen again. It was just, those are, I wouldn't say they're flukes. It's something that he can improve on and he's going to get used to, but it's not something that worries me. And then one broke and went through his webbing on a throw to first base. I was talking about that before. So you got to give him a little bit of leadway on that. What
about the one he just completely missed? Is that one in there?
Well, yeah, there were 4 other missed throws, and at least 3 of them were pickoffs. Now, these are the types of errors that he can improve on with more playing time, especially on those pickoffs. The pickoff move has been the biggest problem for him this season. He's trying to catch the ball.
A lack of focus, or is it his lack of talent, time at the pitcher's position? Maybe not talent. Is he just not focus? I mean, yeah, best way to put it, not focused on the game. Is his head in the game? Is he watching what's going on?
Well, that's something you have to ask, and really you can't tell right now. It could be a lack of focus, or it could be just the fact that he hasn't even played a half a season at first base yet, and really you got to give him more time to see which one it is. Now, if it keeps happening, and then maybe it is a lack of focus, because we've seen that at third base, people were questioning his focus at points.
Maybe he has ADD, and that's not even a joke. Like, it could be a dead serious thing where his attention just gets drawn away easier. It happens to certain people.
So these 7 errors are the biggest problem to me. Now, he had 5, including the broken web play, which I give him a little bit of leeway on, like I said, over the team's first 53 games. So that's one almost every 10 games, a little more than 10 games. Now, he only has 2 of those over his last 35 games, while most of his errors came on the ground ball over the second quarter of the season, which I don't mind as much because, like I said, every first baseman makes those type of errors. To me, it actually looks like he's getting a little better. Now, he's not great or anything. I'm not saying that. But if you give him more time, I see him getting better in these areas. Now, you also have to consider more than just errors, such as being in the right spot at the right time, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Now, at the beginning of the season, I remember plenty of times where he charged the ball he shouldn't, or he went after a ball that Neil Walker could have easily made, and he wasn't at first base for the throw. And I'm asking this because I'm not quite sure. I don't see every single game. But I haven't seen that happen in a long time. It seems like he's starting to show up in the right spot at most times. 47. Have you seen him be in the wrong spot recently? Over the past, we'll say, 30 games?
Maybe not so much. I mean, he's just rigid out there. It's a new position. And
Easy. You watch a lot of games. Have you seen him be in the wrong spot recently?
Well, there's not really been much action towards him, to be honest.
Well, I wouldn't say
he's not getting much ground balls or action hitting his way.
Well, actually, I seen him make a couple nice diving stops. And, I mean, even this last error he had in the St. Louis Cardinal game where it was a high chopper in between the pitcher and first base, and he went after it. That was the right move, going after it and trying to make the play at home. Now, unfortunately, he didn't make the play. And I'm not going to say he's terrible because of it. That's the kind of error that some first basemen make sometimes. So it's not that big of a deal to me. But at least he made a decision, made the right decision in going after it. But look, he makes his throws to second have been good this season. He flips to the pitcher well when he has to make a play and the pitcher has to cover. I wouldn't say he's good at picking balls in the dirt, but I can't really remember any time that it really cost him when he didn't pick it. Or really, I can't remember him not picking too many out of the dirt. I'd say he's average at best still at it, and he can get better. And then coming up with the high throw and putting a tag on the runner, I think he does a great job at, actually. Not going after balls the second baseman can get. I said earlier in the season he was having trouble with that. Like a third baseman, he wanted to go after everything. That's what a third baseman does. Now he's starting to let him go a little bit more when he's supposed to. And then fielding balls in general, I seen some nice diving stops over the second quarter of the season here from him. Now, he still has stuff to work out. Fielding bunts is one thing. I'm not too comfortable with him if he knows when to charge or not still. So we'll have to see. But I looked at it, and here's really what it came down to. The errors he committed cost the Pirates at most 5 runs this season, and no more than 1 run in any game. And you could actually argue that it only cost them 3 runs if you consider the one where it broke his webbing. That was actually one of the times the run scored. So you can put that on him, but I'm not going to completely fault him for it either.
Got to keep your gloves tight, Pedro.
Please believe. I was taught to use 2 hands to catch the ball. Come on, Pedro.
Use 2 hands. And then this last error against St. Louis, the play I was just talking about. Now, he did make the error, but the run scored. The only play was at home, and he missed the ball on the high chopper, and he maybe could have had him at home, but the run was actually not charged to Pedro. It was actually considered an earned run charged to A.J. Burnett because the play did not guarantee that the guy was going to be out at home. The error was actually for letting the runner reach first base, but really he had no play at first base. The only play was at home, so he made the right decision. He just didn't come up with the play. So between 5 runs and 3 runs is really what he cost the Pirates this season with his errors. Now the Pirates are 8-4 when Pedro commits an error. 8-4, so that's not too bad. That's actually better than their actual. That's a better winning percentage than their actual winning percentage they have. And in games where Pedro commits an error and costs the Bucks a run, they are actually 4-1, and the only loss was a 7-1 final versus San Diego. So you can hardly say that error cost them that game.
Which is the one where he threw it right over the catcher's head into the stands.
That was
into the net because the net's there.
That was game 49 versus San Diego. That did cost them a run. They won that game 5-2, and he actually went 1 for 3 and scored a run in that game.
And threw it over the catcher's head.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's an error you're going to get from Pedro. There's no question about it. There's no way to argue that he's going to fix that. I mean, we've seen Pedro in the past. He just has throwing problems, but they have hit him pretty well this season.
It's just weird, and it's like Shaq with free throws in baseball. How do you play a game, or in basketball, sorry. How do you play a game for so long, your whole life, you're good enough to compete at the biggest level in the world, and then something so simple, they just lose it, you know? You see basketball players can't make free throws. Baseball players can't throw it from one base to another. You see football running backs are dominant one year and then just completely lose it the next. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's part of sports, and especially in baseball where you have to have great mind over matter. I guess
that's why fat people can be good, because it's not all athleticism in baseball.
I mean, one little tweak in your game can change you from being an all-star to being a bust, really.
And that's called a hypodermic needle with steroids.
But moving on, in games where Pedro committed an error that cost the Bucks a run, he actually has 3 doubles, 2 RBIs, 3 runs, and 2 walks. So he actually accounted for 5 runs in the games where he let up those 5 runs. So he made up for it just with the bat in those games. And in the 12 games where he commits an error, he's actually 9 for 41. That's around his career average. He has 4 doubles, 8 RBIs, 3 runs, and 2 walks in those games. So he's accounted for 11 runs in the 12 games where he commits an error. So when he does commit an error, he picks it up with the bat. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's a pace for, if you put that over a season, that's almost 160 RBI right there.
When we finish this segment, I'm going to package it with some highlights of Pedro and send it to all these teams because you love him and maybe they'll believe you and it'll get some trade value.
I'm not saying he's good at first base right now. I'm just saying I see improvement, and I want him to be in the game a full 9 innings. I want that guy to play.
Hype machine, J Dash.
Pedro.
Well, I'm just saying, man, everybody's pointing out that Pedro's costing the Pirates games with his glove, and it's just not true. The numbers aren't there. He is not costing them games with the glove. And like I said, he allowed 5 runs off of those errors this season. That is not a lot at all. In fact, I mean, you can't say that's definitely going to keep up like that, because one error can cost you an infinite number of runs. It could cost you 10 runs in an inning. If a guy doesn't make the third out, commits an error, and then the team goes on to score 10 runs, that's all on him. And that just hasn't happened to Pedro. So until it does happen, let him play. And then when he costs you a game, then okay, then maybe you want to start putting in Rodriguez at first base at the end of the game.
Hey, they could always bring back, what's his face, KY, to teach him how to play first base.
I just
Kevin
want to
Young.
point out
Yeah.
that you said I'm horrible at baseball, but I haven't made any errors at the major league level this year, so
Please
I got
believe.
one up on
You
Pedro.
also
right
have a
there.
0 batting average.
Well, I might have a good ERA. That's 0 too.
But look, here's the thing. Pedro Alvarez is tied for second on the team with 12 home runs. He's third on the team in RBIs with 41, and he's third on the team in walks with 25. This is a guy that is seventh on the team in at-bats. So if you're trying to upgrade his defense, you're going to lose some offense. And the problem is we're complaining more about the Pirates' offense than we are about the Pirates' pitching. So we need this offense from Pedro Alvarez, and I need to see him stay in the game. But we are going to entertain the idea of trying to upgrade Pedro Alvarez. We're going to entertain every idea we can here.
Can I ask you a serious question?
Yes.
And this is kind of directed to all of you. Feel free to answer. In Game 7 of the World Series, if the Pirates are up by 1 run, do you have enough faith in Pedro to leave him out there on the field knowing that this is for everything? Or do you put somebody else in?
I'll answer first. I say you don't know until you give him a chance to let him play full games. Right now, I'd say
But I'm
no.
saying this year, right? Like,
Yeah.
if we got there this year and we were at
Well,
Game
that-
7, would you
well,
leave
that's what I'm
Pedro
saying.
there or would you put in Rodriguez?
That's what I'm saying. You have to let him do it in the regular season first. Of course, I wouldn't trust him now because they never let him do it now. If they let him go and he has problems, then no. If they let him go and he shows he's starting to get better and he can handle it, then yeah. I mean, it all depends. But right now, no, just because they're not even giving him the chance to.
And I don't think the Pirates see him in their long-term future, so I don't think they're going to give him the chance because they just see it as easier to put in Rodriguez is better than try to teach Pedro how to play the position.
I understand,
know what
but
I mean.
I feel giving it to him now is going to help
Right.
this season
I mean, it may.
in the end.
What about you, 47? Would you leave Pedro out there? Or do you pull him and put in Rodriguez?
What inning you putting Rodriguez in?
I'm talking like 7th, 8th, or 9th inning if you're up by 1 run. Game 7
Well,
of the
ninth
World
inning,
Series.
definitely, no matter what. Even if Pedro was better. I mean, if you're
What
up
if
a run,
Pedro's due to be up in the bottom of that inning? I know we wouldn't get it because we're not going to get home, in the World Series.
Right.
But you love Pedro's bat. So if Pedro had a chance to bat one more time, would you leave him in or would you go for the defense?
if there was more than 1 inning left, I would go with Pedro's bat. If there was we had to get 3 more outs, I'm doing everything I can to get those 3 outs.
If his errors aren't
I
hurting
agree.
him,
I agree with Dash on that one.
if his errors aren't hurting him, why does Serpico play at all?
Because people have this illusion that his errors are killing him.
But it's not the people who are pulling him, it's Hurdle.
I
It's
understand,
Hurdle
but-
has the belief
But
that
is
Pedro
Hurdle
can't do
actually
it.
looking into how much it hurt him?
Hurdle
You don't
has
know
no,
if he
Hurdle
goes.
has no clue.
Yeah, I
He
think.
just don't like Pedro. He hates him.
Maybe
I wouldn't go
Pedro
that
stole
far.
some of his big league chew. I bet you that's what it is. Pedro lifted some of Hurdle's big league chew one day, and ever since then, he just started putting him on the bench. I solved it.
All right, so we're going to entertain the idea of Pedro Alvarez not necessarily moving off this team, although that's a possibility too, but just upgrading him. We're going to entertain that idea. And then other guys who can play first base on this 25-man roster right now is Serpico, obviously, Sean Rodriguez. He is great defensively, whether you put him at first base, second base. He can play third base. He can play shortstop, actually. He's done that before. He can play both corner outfield spots, and he plays great everywhere he plays on defense. Now, he has an okay bat at best. I said coming into the season, he's not going to give you a high batting average. That's just not who he is. But he does have some pop. He has 3 home runs, and that's in very limited at-bats, 127 at-bats. So actually, he could hit 10 home runs over, say, 250 at-bats in a season. He's done something like that before. So I like his pop, his versatility, and his great defense. And that's just enough right there to not want to see him go anywhere. And he has to be on this team, even if it is the 25th man.
Even if they didn't upgrade Pedro necessarily, if they put a better right-handed bat in the lineup, I'd be happy. Because I don't.
Yeah, we're actually going to
trust
talk about that.
Rodriguez.
I agree with you on that. Now, Rodriguez, I do not want to be Pedro's platoon. If we brought in another right-handed bat to play first base, Sean Rodriguez can find a lot of playing time in the outfield. He can find playing time at second base to give Walker a day off. He could play third base for a day to give Gung a day off. And you can put him at first base later in the game. He can still find a lot of playing time and be a big part of this team. And then you got Travis Ishikawa, who they recently claimed off the Giants. That happened around when Josh Harrison got hurt. And, he's not going to be a guy, I think, that sticks around on this 25-man roster as you go down into the playoffs. So this is a position where you can actually upgrade. Anything on our first baseman outside of all the Pedro Alvarez talk?
Nah. Not a big Travis Ishikawa guy.
No, me neither. Like I said, it's just a depth guy right now. We've had an injury or two recently. Hart's on the DL, and obviously Harrison's on the DL. So, I don't think he's going to be around in the playoffs. So that's a spot where we could fill in with an upgrade. And then you got second base. You got Neil Walker. He's coming on as of late.
I don't really think we need to do much at the second base position. If Harrison's healthy, you love Serpico, and Gung, I guess, can technically play second in a squeeze. You got a lot of depth at that position, and all pretty good players except for Serpico.
Well, actually, man, with Harrison,
I have no faith in Rodriguez if we got a runner on third, 2 outs, and we need that key hit.
He's come up with a couple key hits. In fact, didn't he come up with the game-tying hit in the Cardinal series?
Is less is more? Is he one of those guys, though,
No,
where
he
if he
didn't.
starts to get too much playing time, he would start to,
he hit
to slump a little bit?
ball towards second base. Was it him or Stewart?
It was Stewart, wasn't it?
I'm going to go with Stewart just because I hate Serpico.
Hit us up at whatever if you
Yeah,
think
if you
Serpico-
know, hit me up bet_the spread or bet Jim to win.
We'd like to hear one example where Serpico had a clutch at bat.
Oh, he's definitely had
He's
clutch at
definitely
bats
had
this
some
season.
good at bats. Yeah.
He made that amazing catch in the outfield. I'll give him that. He is beast defensively, but at the plate, he's
he hasn't drove in a
average.
lot of runs or anything, but he's come up with a couple big hits this season. If you go back and look, you will be able to find them. But you're right. Walker's come on as of late. As I was saying, he's hitting 278 with a 341 on base, 7 jacks, 34 RBIs, 41 runs. I don't think there was ever really any thoughts of upgrading second base, even when Neil Walker was struggling. And this team is very versatile, like you were saying. They look deep at second base. With the versatility of Harrison and Sean Rodriguez and even Gung, their versatility makes them deep everywhere. And you could really upgrade any position, and it would be okay. It doesn't have to be just any one position just because of all this versatility.
With Harrison down, though, if Walker got hurt, I would be scared with Rodriguez as your everyday second baseman.
Well, that's the type of player you bring him in to be, though. A guy who fills in for injured players for a short time, a guy who gives a guy a day off, and a guy who comes in late in games. He's not a guy that you bring in at the beginning of the season to platoon at a position all season long like they're doing with him now. That is where they're using him wrong, in my opinion.
Wrong. This is the house of wrong.
Then you got shortstop Mercer. He's been hitting the past month or so, and he's been playing great defense. I know he had a couple defensive miscues recently, but he's always been a pretty good defender for him, and I don't really think you're going to upgrade anything at shortstop, especially when Harrison comes back and you got Gung. He could actually take over shortstop. Harrison can play shortstop. Rodriguez can play shortstop, so you got some versatility there as well.
Pedro, if we
Well,
needed
we're
him,
pretty
could
much-
fill in at
You're
shortstop.
dead wrong.
We're pretty much set as far as being versatile with our infield. As far as with the exception of first base, I think we're good.
Long term, I don't like Mercer, though, because I don't like how he struggles at the beginning of the year every year.
I tell you what, though, I'd rather him struggle early than struggle late.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. And
I
if
don't
you
know.
can get by the first 2 months with him struggling and then he picks it up and becomes a 300 hitter like he has the past month or so, I'll take that any day of the week. But I love him as a backup, too. If Gung was our starter, Mercer would be an excellent backup. He could play second base, too. He could be a nice backup infielder for him.
Clint Barnes wannabe.
No, he
I
has more
think he's-
power
yeah,
than
I think he's
Barnes,
better than
better
Barmes.
bat.
Clint Barmes wannabe.
Whatever. Anyways,
Young
So-
Clint Barmes.
good analysis.
That's it.
Third base, when Harrison comes back, he should still be our starting third baseman. He's one of the most important players on this team, obviously, just because of his versatility and how well. Usually, versatile guys don't do it as much as he does with the bat. He's like a powered up Sean Rodriguez almost. He can play several positions, but he has a starter type bat.
riddle me this. When Harrison comes back, being a thumb injury that's keeping him out, those are kind of hard to come back from, especially to swing the bat. Is there any chance he might struggle a little early, Gung holds on to the third base spot just for this year down the stretch, and Harrison just becomes super utility guy again until he gets to 100% health? Because I talked to Brandon, and he said some of the injury that Harrison suffered, he's going to have pain in it for a little bit even when it heals. So it's going to be tough for him to come back at full speed for the rest of the year.
I mean, it's definitely a possibility. But even when he does come back, I expect him to, let's say he does come back well, I expect him to be called the starter at third base, but I also expect to see him in right field a lot. I expect to see him, well, not necessarily at shortstop because Gung would move over to short, but I could see him at second base too. He will still be a utility infielder, whether he is hitting like the starter or not. I expect him to be moved around. And really, I heard a possibility where when Harrison comes back, if Pedro doesn't show improvement with his glove, Gung could get a chance at first base.
Gung at first. I like it. Pedro's out.
But, I mean, that's distant future. I don't really see it happening. I got to see Gung play some first base first. I mean, you can't just throw a guy there.
I heard he's a black belt in 3 different types of martial arts, so I'm pretty sure he can play first base.
Gung is the team's MVP right now.
Please believe.
I wouldn't go that far, but he's playing very well.
If you don't take McCutcheon out of the conversation, who else?
Garrett Cole.
You knew Cole was going to be good. You knew Kutch was going to be good. No one expected Wang to come in and hit the ball and
what about
field
Cervelli?
like he did. No,
Wang, I love
there
it.
wasn't questions around Cervelli.
Are you
his
kidding
health.
me?
There was questions around his health.
Everybody here hated Cervelli outside of myself coming into the season.
I had nothing to say about him except for he wasn't.
Oh, dude, we'll go back and listen to those segments. You were
right.
hating on Cervelli hard, dude.
Nope.
In fact, all we have to do is go back and listen to the NL catcher segment, and we will see how you feel about Cervelli.
All I said was I didn't feel that he could stay healthy for a whole year.
Cervelli drinks too much
He
wine.
said he had no bat.
He needs to calm down on the wine.
On the one, well, he was pissed, dude. He's getting sick of dudes getting a 4th strike after they get called a foul tip when the ball's 4 feet away from the bat. I'd be pissed too.
Getting thrown out really helps your team.
Oh, it's just you got to bitch sometimes, man.
Yeah,
You can't just let it go.
that was fun.
It's a manager's job to do that and get thrown out.
Well, he can do that too. I had no problem
Well, I
with
don't want my
that.
starting
Stewart
catcher
came in
getting
and played
thrown
well.
out.
That's the great thing about it is Stewart is a excellent backup as well.
Oh, he's actually really surprised me.
Stewart, yeah. Definitely with the bat, and I mean, he's throwing out a high percentage of runners, too. I mean, he's, like I said, Cole's personal catcher, which is always a plus. Rodriguez, he can also play some third base, obviously, as I said. Then you move to the outfield. You got Starling Marte. Now, he was injured for a short while with an oblique injury, but he made it back into the lineup before the All-Star break. You don't want to upgrade Marte, obviously. And you got an All-Star and a former MVP in
I think we
McCutcheon
need to
in
trade our center
field.
fielder. What's his name again?
Yeah,
He's
Andrew
not any
McCutcheon.
good.
You're dead wrong. So you're not going to upgrade
Wrong.
those 2 spots. And then we'll entertain the idea of upgrading Polanco, though, because I have heard it. Although,
Entertain it.
personally, yes, entertain it.
Dude's garbage.
Yeah, see, I disagree with Easy. I think he's just still young. But I do think that we could do something to help us this year because I don't see his struggles going away this year. But they will eventually.
See, here's the thing, though. If you are going to upgrade the position, you either got to be ready to trade him in a deal, which I don't see, or send him down to the minors, which I don't want either. You don't want him being a bench bat. That's the one thing you don't want.
Can't you bring Ben Revere over from Philadelphia? I heard he could play first base, too.
No, he cannot play first base.
Oh, that's what they were saying on the fan.
He's
Really?
like 5'8", dude.
I was
There's no
gonna
way that
say.
guy's playing first base.
You don't want him. Yeah, you don't want Revere being your first baseman.
But he can play the corner outfield spots. That's the one thing he can do. And I really like Ben Revere. In part 2 of our segment here, I will be talking about him. And I would like them to bring him in, actually. But Polanco, he's been playing better as of late. Although, overall, he's still struggling. But he's come up with some big hits lately. Some game-winning hits and some game-tying hits that the Pirates really needed.
Yeah,
but,
he's been clutch, just not consistent.
But he also cost them 2 potential wins this season in 2 games.
His
early in the
stupid
season,
play
he
is still
dropped
the worst of the worst on ESPN, where he just kind
Yeah,
of forgot
that
how
one
to run.
and the one where he just dropped a line drive hit to him and could have thrown the runner out at home and he missed it. So there's 2 wins. While Pedro didn't cost them 1 win, Polanco actually cost them 2 wins. 2 potential wins,
Hey,
I should say.
now.
Now, he also makes mistakes on the base pass. And really, he started out hot on the base pass, had 17 stolen bases real quick, and now he that pop-up slide he's not good at. He can't slide head first
He
for
has no
crap.
idea how to slide.
But look, this is the same thing Marte went through early in his career. Polanco will figure it out, man. He's going to be a good base runner one day, just maybe not this year, and it could cost the Pirates down the road, but I'm still sticking with him and letting him learn. Now look, good.
No, I was just going to say, fans, go back and check out our How to Slide segment we did.
Polanco was not in it.
It was
Fred
narrated
McGriff taught us how.
by J.K. We put it all together. We had pure pros come and tell us how to slide. You run hard and you slide. That's what you do. You don't break your thumb. You don't pop up and slide 10 feet past the bag. Just, Polanco probably does it the right way. Just stare at the ball the whole time. Don't look at anybody else. Stare at the ball. Run and stare at the ball and then just flop.
Yeah, he definitely got to improve on the base pass.
Let's
How
buy him
do
a
you not know
slip
how
and
to run and slide?
Fans, let's
Well,
raise
listen.
money for a slip and slide for Gregory Polanco. We'll send it to him, and that'll teach him how to head first slide.
GoFundMe, Gator. What was that? GoFundMe, Gator Alley or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Hit
Listen,
the
he's
bump.
a
that
tall dude,
called?
first of all, and the taller you are, the less coordinated you are. I mean, he's still a coordinated player.
Knows how to slide.
But he's
I'm
also
sorry.
a young guy, too.
Trout. You should see.
Yeah.
If you watch the All-Star game, they compared Trout's speed to Jose Altuve's speed. I don't know if you happen to see that.
No, I didn't.
Okay, they just said for how, Altuve and Trout, how big and how small they are. Look at the size. He actually was like, what was that, Jim? Didn't he actually run faster than Altuve?
Believe it.
But he knows how to slide, man.
Yeah.
He goes running, and then and PNC Park grounds crew, why don't you loosen that dirt up around
Yeah.
second base a little bit? Now, come
hear you.
on. That's ridiculous. I partly blame it on Tartman and the grounds crew.
But right now, Polanco is hitting just .237. He only has 3 home runs, and he's not stealing nearly as many bases, like I said, as he was earlier in the season. But as of May 3rd, he was hitting .290. So he got off to an okay start, like people were saying he didn't. A lot of people on radio were saying he was garbage from the beginning of the season. But if you look, on May 3rd, he was hitting .290. So he had a decent start to the season. Then he cooled off, but he had a 10-game hitting streak from May 27th to June 6th where he went 16 for 40, had 2 home runs and a triple. That's, hitting 400. And then this month, he has a .404 on base percentage so far, and 10 walks and 11 hits through 12 games. So he looks pretty good so far this month.
Clutch hits.
And coming up with the clutch hits. You're right, Easy. And let's not forget, he's 23 years old, too. So he has a lot of room to grow still. And he might actually be turning it around this month.
In the beginning of the year, he put in a cheat code and he was on fire. That's why he had a 10-game hitting streak, but then the fire wore off because he went 0 for 3 one day and then he struggled.
Well, here was the thing. He had that 10-game hitting streak, and then game 11, Hurdle decided, I'll sit you and pinch hit you at the end of the game.
See?
Ruin your 10-game hit streak.
And then he wasn't on fire no more.
Yeah, and then he was hurting for a while until he hit July here, and he's starting to look good again. And the big thing to me is the walks. He's taking a ton of walks. This guy is our leadoff hitter, and the thing I want to see more than anything else out of a leadoff hitter is a guy to take walks because he's getting on base for you in front of whoever it is, Milwaukee, Marte, Kutch, whoever is behind him. And then you got Harrison can play the outfield, Rodriguez can play the outfield, obviously, and they have Gorkys Hernandez on this roster right now.
Garbage.
Well, listen, right now, man, I actually want Gorkys Hernandez over players like Travis Ishikawa, Corey Hart, who else is there?
Tabata?
Jose Tabata, Steve Lombardozzi, Andrew Lambeau, Jeff Decker. I'd rather have Gorkys Hernandez over all these guys just because he has speed and he has defense right now. And that's really all you need. Now, I'm not going to say he should be on this roster when it comes down to playoff time. He shouldn't. This is a position we're going to have to upgrade, whether it's through Harrison getting healthy or bringing Alan Hansen up or something. But, yeah, I don't want him on the roster all season long, but I'd rather have him than a lot of these guys just because of the defense and the speed he can bring. But yeah, you're right. He's garbage all in all.
Gorky. His name should just be Garbage Hernandez.
Gorky's is Puerto Rican for garbage.
All right, let's move on to the starting pitching. Obviously, you're not doing anything with Cole, Burnett, or Liriano. You got 2 All-Stars and possibly an All-Star snub out of those 3. Cole leading all of baseball in wins. Burnett one of very few players that have a sub-2 ERA right now, having an excellent season. And Liriano, he has the best whip out of them all, and he's the hardest to hit out of all three of these pitchers. Now, you got Charlie Morton and Jeff Locke. I have no problem with you upgrading one of these two pitchers, but I also want to mention Jeff Locke has 5 or more earned runs just 3 times in 17 starts, and none since the start of June. He actually has a 185 ERA over his last 6 starts.
Damn.
And if you look, man, he has the 65th best ERA in baseball out of qualified starters.
Garbage.
Garbage.
Yeah,
Think
garbage.
about this, man. 30 starters make number 1 starters. 30 starters are number 2 starters. He is a top-end number 3 starter out of qualified starters. James Shields is number 63. Jeff Samardzija is number 64. He's 65. Now, I went and looked a little closer. For starting pitchers with at least 60 innings pitched, he ranks 78th in ERA in baseball. That's still a number 3 pitcher. And with 40 innings pitched out of starting pitchers, he ranks 90th. That is a back-end number 3 pitcher. And actually, he was in the top 90 last season as well. This guy has the ERA of a top 90 starting pitcher. Now, there's minor league prospects that'll get called up that are better than him. There are guys on the DL that are better than him. But really, when you look all around baseball, he is pitching like a back-end number 3 starter or a top-end number 4. Morton actually has the 101st best ERA in baseball out of starting pitchers with at least 40 innings pitched. Now, he didn't get as much time this season because of the injury, but that's a top-end number 4. That's what he's pitching like, is a top-end number 4 type starter, and that's what we're asking out of him. If I had to I have no problem with upgrading one of these guys. Don't get me wrong, but Locke is not as bad as you think when you look all around baseball. And in fact,
when you watch Cole and Liriano and Burnett pitch, Locke ain't that bad.
I've faced Little League pitchers better than Locke.
Listen, if they decided to upgrade a starter, I'm going Morton first. I think Locke has done a good job for the Pirates. Kept them in 14 of 17 starts. And, I mean, you can't ask for much more out of a guy. And then you got relief pitching. Melanson, he's an all-star. Tony Watson has been a beast this season. I know he got into a little trouble recently, and he's had a couple bad starts this season, but overall, he still has a 2.09 ERA, 43 Ks to 9 walks over 43 innings. You're not doing anything with Watson. Now, Caminero, he's been struggling a bit recently, but he's been good overall.
He's been extremely streaky this season.
Yeah, he has a 4.12 ERA right now. Not something that's great, but he has huge upside, and I am not getting rid of this guy. I'm going to keep this guy on my roster. Jared Hughes, you have to keep on your roster. He has a 2.29 ERA right now. He's pitching great. Vance Worley's actually pitching great out of the bullpen. His ERA is sitting at 3.38 right now, and he also has value as a 6th starter, which is very useful when it comes down to it. If a starter gets hurt, you don't have to be looking outside the organization for a starter trying to pick one up off the waiver wire or anything. You already got one on your 25-man roster, which really helps. And then there's that Diolas Guerra, who, Easy, you said you liked how he looked, but you thought he was going to make a mistake in that game, and he actually did make that mistake and let up that home run against the Cardinals. But all in all, 10 innings pitched, 9 Ks, no walks, a 90 ERA. This dude has been a beast. He's just 26 years old. He was actually a key piece in the Johan Santana deal when he was sent to the Mets.
Actually, he was the key piece to that deal.
Yes, and he spent 6 seasons in Minnesota's system. That they were done with him. The Pirates picked him up, and he's pitching great right now. I'm definitely keeping this guy on the 25-man roster right now as well. And then you got Bastardo. This is a guy I'm not sure about. Now, right now, the Pirates think higher of Bastardo than they do Caminero, but I'm not getting rid of Caminero. I'd rather get rid of Bastardo and find an upgrade at left-handed reliever.
Bastardo's garbage.
But really, I mean, he has a 3.76 ERA, so he's not pitching terrible right now. He was worse earlier in the season.
He was horrible at the beginning of the year.
But I'm still not going to trust him 100%, and I am going to entertain the idea of upgrading Bastardo.
Yeah, at least Bastardo didn't give up a home run in the All-Star game.
You talk about Melanson.
Yeah, come on, Melanson.
Another reason to get rid of Melanson.
Yeah,
Let's
you're
trade for
done,
Grilly.
Melanson.
He's hurt. Who cares?
Yeah, well,
Blue is Achilles.
okay,
He can
well,
still
we'll throw
pitch.
this one out. Who's the next Pirate to get injured?
Well, I mean,
Probably
it could
nobody.
happen to anyone. You never
What if
know.
Alright,
one
well,
of the top 3 get
take-
injured?
pick
Because
one.
our pitchers have been freakishly
have to-
healthy this year.
If I
I
have to,
have Morton
If I have to pick one, I'll pick Bastardo.
Well, if you lose Morton or Locke, you got Worley. That's fine. But if you lose Cole, Liriano, or Burnett, we're in a world of trouble.
I can see Wang pulling a groin soon, too. I mean, Gung.
I don't know. He knows
All right.
ninjutsu.
Gung
So
groin.
that's the 25, well, actually 24-man roster, plus Harrison right now, who's on the DL. You got Scahill on the DL, who I don't 100% trust, but he showed his moments this season as
Kick
well.
rocks.
Oh, he is
Not
a
necessarily.
shark
He's
bait.
an extra reliever. You got the
Shark
relievers
bait.
you want, but it never hurts to have extra relievers. And then Andrew Lambeau's on the DL and Corey Hart's on the DL. I'm not too interested in not either one of those guys.
Can we just leave Hart on the DL forever?
We can cut him. You could definitely do
Designate
that.
him
He's
for
not.
assignment.
Hopefully he cooks breakfast for McCutcheon in the clubhouse because he needs to do something.
So here's what you have in the minors. You have Alan Hansen, who's one of their top prospects. He's out with a broken pinky right now. He should be coming back pretty soon. He may make an appearance at some point this season. Maybe September. I'd have to believe no later than September, to tell you the truth. You got Jeff Decker, who's an option to call up at any point. Jose Tabata's still down there. Tony Sanchez is an option to bring up if you really need. Steve Lombardozzi is an option. This is a guy I really like. I liked him at least in the past, but for the Pirates, he showed nothing. I'm not going to trust him at all. Adrian Sampson, another prospect they have, a pitching prospect. He slowed down a bit after a hot start to the season, but he still has some upside. If you're not going to give him a shot this year, think about maybe putting him in a deal. And then you got Casey Sadler, who can make a spot start for you, nothing major. And two other relievers, John Holtzcomb and Rodimus Lees, are still in this system too. So if things go wrong, you definitely have extra relievers, just not the lefty right now.
How come we haven't seen Holdscomb at all this season?
He's not
Holding
pitching
tight
as
down
great
there.
as we hoped. And really, man, a lot of other relievers have come up big for the Pirates this season. Like Guerra, I mean, I don't want to take him out for Holtzcomb right now. And Hughes has been good. Caminero shows huge. Actually, Caminero shows closer potential. He's just not ready to be that closer yet. But he might be the future closer of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So to wrap it up, I want to see a bench bat. Now we got versatility of Harrison, Rodriguez, and Gung would allow for any position. Even without Harrison, they have plenty of options around the diamond. Ishikawa and Hernandez are 2 of 3 bench players that could be upgraded right now. There isn't the third yet, but there will be once they get back playing tomorrow. Like I said, they had the extra reliever. We'll see who they could call up. It could be Tabata, it could be Lombardozzi, it could be Decker, it could be, who knows who it could be. But whoever it is, they're going to need upgraded. But one of those spots will be taken by Josh Harrison when he returns from the DL. Alan Hansen could be called up at any time, but even if it takes until September, you can get by with Ishikawa, Hernandez, Tabata, Hart, Lombardozzi, Lambeau, Decker, Sanchez, some combination, just for them to be the 25th man, whoever it is at that on any certain day. But really, a right-handed first baseman / outfielder would be the best thing. Rodriguez can play any infield position, like I was saying. Besides catcher, he can play both outfield corner spots. He'll still have a lot of playing time, even if you bring in a guy who can platoon with Pedro Alvarez and give Polanco a rest a day or two here or there. And then we'll entertain the left-handed reliever upgrading Bastardo, although he isn't pitching as bad as of right now. And then starting pitcher, we'll look at upgrading Locke or Morton, one or the other. They're not going to upgrade both. But the Pirates are reportedly looking at starting pitchers, so this is a possibility. Then we'll look at first base for those who don't want Pedro, don't think he can stick defensively, I guess, or if you don't like his bat like Jim. And a real upgrade of first base, someone better than Pedro Alvarez with the bat and defensively, would actually put Pedro Alvarez on the bench unless you traded him. So that could be an actual upgrade in itself just by getting a starting first baseman. So you can look at it that way too. And then right fielder, for those who don't want Gregory Polanco starting in right field, he'd either have to go to the minors though, or it'd have to be a trade piece. You cannot let this guy sit on the bench.
I think the Bucks just need to add a better right-handed bat in the platoon system. And I want to upgrade Morton or Locke, because if Cole, Liriano, and Burnett get hurt, and I know if any team's top 3 gets hurt, you're in trouble. But they are the Pirates, Cole, Liriano, and Burnett. The offense has come on as of late, But if we don't have dominant starting pitching, we won't win games. We came from behind against the Cards, and I really think they need to upgrade Morton or Locke, because if I have to go into the playoffs with just Cole Liriano and then either Locke, Morton, or Worley as my other starter.
You saying if Burnett got injured?
Yeah, if any of the big three got injured.
Here's the problem, though. If you upgrade Locke or Morton, that one of those are going to have to go.
See, I would upgrade Locke and just move him to the bullpen for the rest of the year if it's a rental player.
You could, but he's not going to replace Bastardo. He doesn't have the dominant strikeout stuff, so he's not the perfect reliever. So you're going to have to get rid of maybe a long reliever, maybe a Vance Worley you'd have to get rid of. But no matter what, if a starter gets injured, you're going to be hurting at the starting position because you can't bring in another starter.
If Morton or Locke get injured, you just plug Worley in there and you don't miss a beat.
Right, and the same if you upgraded a starter, though. I mean, if you put Locke in the bullpen, Worley's going to go, and then if the starter gets hurt, you put Locke in. So it's kind of hard to say, but no matter what, the pitching staff has to stay healthy.
Well, I don't know. I would keep Locke and Worley just because I like their potential at being able to start if they need to. But I understand your point where Locke's not the big arm that Bastardo is.
Well, let's say you upgrade a starter. Real quick, let's say you upgrade a starter and you put Locke in the bullpen. Who are you cutting?
I'd have to go either between Bastardo or Caminero, but I know the Bucks are big on Caminero with his speed.
I like Caminero too.
Scahill's out.
Yeah,
Scahill's Scahill's already on a DL. He's not even a part of this bullpen as of right now. So it's gonna Scahill. Let's say Scahill is out. I agree. Scahill is probably out. But there's also going to have to be someone else that goes, whether it's Hughes, Worley, Guerra, Bastardo. Now, like I said, Locke, I don't trust him in the bullpen. I trust him as a starter way more than I trust this guy in the bullpen.
Block it, cut him, then he's garbage anyway.
See, that's something the Pirates, I don't see them wanting to do something like that. But, I mean, I could see him putting him in the bullpen. I just don't trust it. All right, so that's it. We need the bench bat, the reliever, the starting pitcher, first base, right fielder. Obviously, we don't need them all, but we'll entertain them all. So go check out part 2 where we talk about potential sellers and available players.
Believe it, not that Chapman's coming to Pittsburgh, but I hear he's on the move out of Cincinnati, too. That's going to be interesting to see where that big arm lands. But that wraps up our segment for today. Thank you guys for coming in studio. Thank you, fans, for listening. You fans can follow us on Twitter at bet_thespread. You can follow me on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the website at thespreadnews.simplesite.com. Check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Like us there and subscribe to that YouTube channel.